Hello, today is Sunday, June 28, 2026. Here is your daily signal. According to Fortune, Donald Trump has sharply criticized big oil donors, demanding that the Department of Justice investigate alleged price gouging despite these companies spending nearly $100 million to support his election bid. Trump's accusations come at a time when consumer frustration over gas prices is growing, particularly as crude oil prices have returned to pre-war levels while gas prices for households remain stubbornly unchanged. This debate occurs against the backdrop of the 2026 presidential campaign, with economic issues dominating voter sentiment. Key facts from Fortune show that Trump's demand for an investigation targets major oil donors, highlights the wide gap in pricing, and increases pressure on both political and corporate players. In the near term, political tensions are rising as Trump confronts his own donors, threatening to destabilize the relationship between corporate backers and candidates. As consumer sentiment sours in response to persistently high gas prices, this issue could deeply influence voter perceptions and economic confidence during the election cycle. Medium-term consequences might include regulatory shifts and greater transparency about oil industry practices, while both political and corporate alignments may force realignments as fallout from public accusations and investigation threats mount. Next, we turn to the broad impact of the Iran war on U.S. economic stability. Business Insider and Fortune report that the conflict has caused marked disruptions in global oil supply chains, and that U.S. inflation risk has soared especially following attacks on the Strait of Hormuz. The Federal Reserve and households are paying close attention to price swings in gasoline, groceries, and utilities, with recent policy surveys showing inflation is now the primary economic concern. Background details reveal that uncertainty from the Iran conflict has nearly tripled inflation worries, shifting focus to household costs and consumer spending. News facts from Fortune highlight a Fed survey of 530 U.S. company executives, where a staggering 25% cited inflation as their top concern, up from just 9.5% in the previous quarter, even as most companies have held steady on consumer prices. Moody's economist Mark Zandi, quoted in Business Insider, notes that the Iran war has already significantly raised costs for American households, with higher prices for gas, groceries, and basic expenses. Short-term, companies facing continued inflation may have no choice but to raise consumer prices, threatening slower household spending as the summer unfolds. In the medium term, persistent supply disruptions could dampen retail growth and discretionary buying, while monetary policy from the Fed may shift toward tighter controls if inflation remains high amid ongoing geopolitical risk. Finally, TechCrunch reports on groundbreaking advances as General Intuition leverages video game simulation data to improve AI intuition and robotics deployment. The company has raised $320 million in additional funding, scaling AI models trained with millions of hours of virtual gameplay and pushing its valuation to $2.3 billion. Using video game environments such as Fortnite, General Intuition speeds up training cycles beyond what real-world testing allows, aiming to bridge the gap between simulated learning and physical performance. This approach capitalizes on complex, high-fidelity virtual worlds to develop human-like intuition for AI agents. TechCrunch details that major investors back this strategy, and developers of games like Fortnite provide essential virtual frameworks. Key numbers confirm the scale: millions of simulated hours, a $320 million fundraising round, and a company now valued at $2.3 billion. In the near term, robotics companies may further accelerate deployments by using simulation-trained models, while medium-term effects could include greater adaptability and safer AI in unpredictable environments. As advances in AI intuition reduce costs and improve scalability in fields like logistics and manufacturing, competitive pressures may push other research labs to embrace similar methods. Now, onto the markets. International markets moved mostly lower, with Germany's ETF EWG dropping 1.1% and France's EWQ sliding 0.7%. Spain's EWP posted a modest day-on-day decline, while the Netherlands' EWN shed 1.75%. Chile bucked the trend, gaining 0.6%, while Belgium's EWK rose nearly 0.3%. Australia fell by 1.6% and China large cap dipped 0.3%. Hong Kong was relatively steady, down 0.1%. Japan's EWJ edged down, while India's Index gained 0.3%. Taiwan saw a more significant drop of 2% day-on-day. Malaysia moved higher by 1%, whereas Saudi Arabia and Qatar remained almost unchanged. Africa's regional ETF AFK climbed 0.9%. Commodities saw gold, silver, and platinum all advancing, with platinum rising 1.9% and silver gaining 1.8%. U.S. oil suffered a 3.5% day-on-day fall, while copper increased 0.9%. Natural gas was up 1%, but corn and wheat both declined, falling 0.5% and 1.7% respectively. Uranium moved down 0.7% and lithium by 3.2%. In the favorites category, Microsoft surged 5.7%, while Adobe was also up by 4.8%. AMD fell nearly 2%, and Nvidia dropped 1.6%. ARM declined 3.9%, while Axon climbed 4.5%. Amazon moved higher by 2.5%, but Oracle fell 2.6%. Intel dropped 3.4% and Marvell lost 5.2%. Apple advanced 3.1%. Lowe's saw marginal gains of 0.2%. Sector-wise, the S&P 500 fell 0.7%, while healthcare gained 3%. Finance posted slight gains, real estate rose 1.4%, and semiconductors retreated 5.6%. Aerospace and transport moved up modestly, clean energy dropped nearly 5.6%, and agriculture was nearly flat. That's it for today. You can find more news and details on our website. Goodbye.